This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, our intergalactic fuel, and the boost behind this mic. Thanks for supporting our cosmic journey through the universe of sci-fi.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilization, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captured audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on CodeFlix.
Hello and welcome to CodeFlix, the podcast where we take a deep dive into your favorite sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies. I'm Andrei Bonner, and in today's episode, we'll be looking at the satirical movie Galaxy Quest. The concept of a show within a show has always fascinated me. It's a layered meta idea that plays with reality and fiction all at once. The first time I watched Galaxy Quest, I saw it as just a fun, quirky sci-fi parody. But after rewatching it, I realized that was exactly the point. It's not just a comedy. It's a true love letter to fandom and to the power of belief. Galaxy Quest follows the washed-up cast of a once popular sci-fi television show. Think Star Trek vibes. Who spend their days signing autographs at conventions. But things take a wild turn when they are mistaken for real space heroes by an alien race desperate for help. Suddenly, the actors are caught in an actual intergalactic conflict, forced to play the roles they only pretended to understand on screen. With no real skills but a ton of heart and some help from their super fans back on Earth, they rise to the occasion. It's hilarious, heartfelt, and surprisingly clever. What really struck me is how it flips the script. The fans, often seen as outsiders, become the true heroes, the ones who understand the world better than the people who created it. And honestly, that's not far from the truth. We, the fans, do keep stories alive through discussion, conventions, cosplay, and yes, podcasts like this. We breathe life into the universes we love. So if you haven't seen Galaxy Quest or it's been a while, give it another look. It's more than just a parody. It's a true tribute to fandom, legacy, and the idea that sometimes pretending can become something very real.
Galaxy Quest is a 1999 American satirical science fiction comedy film directed by Dean Parisot and written by David Howard and Robert Gordon. It stars Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, Tony Shalhoub, Sam Rockwell, and Daryl Mitchell. A parody of an homage to science fiction films and series, especially Star Trek and its fandom, the film depicts the cast of a fictional cult television series, Galaxy Quest, who are drawn into a real interstellar conflict by aliens who think the series is a documentary. Galaxy Quest was a modest box office success and received positive reviews. It won the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation and the Nebula Award for Best Script, and was nominated for 10 Saturn Awards, including Best Science Fiction Film and Best Director, Best Actress for Weaver, and Best Supporting Actor for Rickman. Alan won Best Actor. Galaxy Quest achieved cult status, especially from Star Trek fans for its affectionate parody. Several Star Trek cast and crew members praised the film. It was included in Reader's Digest list of the top 100 plus funniest movies of all time in 2012, and Star Trek fans voted it the 7th best Star Trek film in 2013. The cast of the 1980 space adventure series Galaxy Quest attend fan conventions and make trivia promotional appearances. Though the series' former star, Jason Nesmith, thrives on the attention, his co-stars Gwen Domarco, Alexander Dane, Fred Kwon, and Tommy Webber resent him and the state of their careers. At a convention, a group calling themselves Termians approaches Jason for help. Thinking they want him for a promotional appearance, he agrees. The next morning, when they pick him up, a hungover Jason does not grasp that the Termians are actual aliens who have transported him to a working recreation of the Galaxy Quest starship, the NSEA Protector. Jason believes he is on a set, and performs in character as he confronts the Termians' enemy, Ceres, who demands the Omega-13, a secret super weapon with unknown capabilities mentioned in the show's finale, but never used on screen. Giving perfunctory orders, Jason manages to temporarily defeat Ceres. After the grateful Termians transport him back to Earth, Jason realizes the experience was real and attempts to convince the other cast members. When the Termian Leliari seeks Jason's help again, the cast joins him, along with the convention MC, Guy, who had played an ill-fated extra in one episode. Aboard the Protector, the cast learned that the Termians, who possess no concept of fiction, believe the episodes of Galaxy Quest are true, historical documents. Inspired by the crew's adventures, they have based their society on the virtues espoused by the show. Ceres returns and demands the Omega-13 device. He attacks the Protector again, and the ship barely escapes through a magnetic minefield. However, the ship's power source, a beryllium sphere, is severely damaged. The humans travel to a nearby planet and take a replacement sphere from ferocious, childlike alien miners. Jason is temporarily left behind and fends off a rock creature until the others rescue him. On their return to the Protector, the crew discovers that Ceres has seized the ship. After Jason confesses they are just actors, Ceres forces him to explain the truth to the disillusioned Termian leader, Matissa. Ceres activates the Protector's self-destruct mechanism and returns to his ship. Jason and Gwen manage to abort the self-destruct sequence by following instructions from Brandon, the leader of a group of Galaxy Quest superfans back on Earth. Meanwhile, Alexander leads a Termian revolt against Ceres' forces and takes back control of the Protector. With renewed confidence, the crew challenges Ceres and draws his ship into the magnetic minefield, destroying it. As they return to Earth, Ceres, who escaped his ship's destruction, ambushes them on the bridge and fatally wounds several crew members. Jason activates the Omega-13, which sends everyone 13 seconds back in time and gives Jason and Matissa a chance to stun and disarm Ceres before the attack. The Protector's bridge separates from the main vessel to return the humans to Earth, while the main vessel carries the Termians into interstellar space. The Protector bridge crashes into a Galaxy Quest convention, and the dazed cast emerges to the applause of their fans. Ceres awakens and levels his gun at the cast, but Jason shoots and destroys him. The crowd assumes it was all a display of special effects and cheers wildly, while the crew basks in their newfound glory. Sometime later, Galaxy Quest is revived as a sequel series, Galaxy Quest: The Journey Continues, with the cast reprising their roles alongside Guy and Leliori as new cast members.
This podcast started as just another transmission. Now it's a full-blown mission across the galaxy of sci-fi weirdness. It's not monetized, not polished like a Federation ship, but it's good heart, duct tape, and just enough sarcasm to survive a Termian ambush. If you've laughed, nodded, or yelled "That's from Galaxy Quest" at any point, share it with a fellow fan and leave a comment so I know you're out there fighting the good fight, or at least enjoying the ride. Every listen, follow, and share keeps the starship from falling apart mid-walk. Because space is chaotic, fandom is forever, and the podcast must go on.
Here are a few themes and symbols from the film. Themes: identity and redemption. The former TV stars of Galaxy Quest struggle with being typecast and forgotten. Over the course of the film, they rediscover purpose and self-worth, not as actors playing heroes, but as people rising to meet real challenges. It's a redemptive arc about becoming what one pretended to be. Fandom and hero worship. The Tamians, an alien race, mistake the show for historical documents, representing the power of fandom to elevate fiction into meaning. The film satirizes and honors fandom, showing how it can inspire belief, community, and even heroism. Reality versus performance. Galaxy Quest plays with the idea of bloodlines between fantasy and reality. The actors, used to scripted battles, must now confront actual danger, highlighting the difference between pretending to be brave and truly being brave. Teamwork and unity. Initially fractured by ego and resentment, the crew learns to cooperate and value each other's strengths. Their eventual unity reflects the classic ensemble theme of overcoming conflict for a common goal. Satire and tribute to sci-fi. While poking fun at the clichés of science fiction and space operas, especially Star Trek, the film also pays deep respect to the genre's themes of exploration, courage, and idealism. Symbols. The NSCA protector of spaceship. More than a set piece, the ship symbolizes potential. What was once a stage prop becomes a vessel for real heroism. It's also a symbol of how fantasy can inspire real action. The Tamians represent innocence, belief, and the unintended consequences of narrative influence. Their unwavering faith in the actors is a metaphor for the hope and meaning people find in fiction. The Omega-13 device. Initially a mysterious, misunderstood plot device, it becomes a symbol of second chances, literally allowing the characters to undo a fatal mistake and metaphorically reflecting their overall redemption. Costumes and catchphrases. Once symbols of kitsch and stagnation, these elements become meaningful in real battle. They reflect how something superficial can take on real weight when circumstances change. Ceres, the villain. Ceres embodies the real danger that forces the actors out of performance and into growth. He is a symbol of chaos, ego-driven destruction, and the antithesis of teamwork. Conclusion. Galaxy Quest is a brilliantly layered sci-fi comedy that parodies genre conventions while honestly embracing their heart. Through its clever exploration of identity, fandom, and transformation, the film argues that heroism isn't about being perfect or scripted, it's about rising to the occasion when it truly matters. With its rich themes and symbolic use of genre tropes, Galaxy Quest succeeds as both satire and sincere homage, making it a standout entry in meta-science fiction. Here is a character analysis of the main characters from the film. Jason Nesmith / Commander Peter Quincy Taggart, Tim Allen. A parody / homage to Captain Kirk, Jason is the self-centered, egotistical star of Galaxy Quest who thrives on attention but has alienated his castmates. Core traits: charismatic, arrogant, insecure, ultimately heroic. Arc begins as a faded celebrity clinging to past fame, but transforms into a true leader when confronted with real danger. Symbolism: Jason represents redemption, the ability to rise above ego and become the person others believed you were, even if you didn't believe it yourself. Gwen DeMarco / Lieutenant Tony Madison, Sigourney Weaver. Gwen played the stereotypical, token woman, on the original show, whose only job was to repeat the ship's computer. She's intelligent and capable, but often reduced to eye candy. Core traits: sarcastic, intelligent, self-aware. Arc reclaims her dignity as a capable problem solver, shedding her on-screen stereotype. Symbolism: Gwen critiques the underwritten roles of women in sci-fi while becoming a capable, respected member of the real crew. Alexander Dane / Dr. Lazarus, Alan Rickman. A classically trained actor forever bitter about being typecast as an alien on the show. His disdain for his catchphrase, "by Grapta's hammer," is symbolic of his resentment toward the role. Core traits: intellectual, bitter, dryly humorous, proud. Arc: learns to embrace his impact on others, especially when comforting a dying alien fan. Symbolism: Alexander represents artistic integrity and how fan devotion can give meaning even to roles actors regret. Fred Kwon / Tech Sergeant Chen, Tony Shalhoub. Laid back and oddly calm, Fred appears to be totally unaffected by the dangers of space travel. He eventually forms a romantic bond with an alien named Leliori. Core traits: chill, resourceful, eccentric. Arc: doesn't change much, but his comfort with absurdity becomes a strength. Symbolism: Fred embodies adaptability and how intuition and openness can triumph where logic or panic might fail. Tommy Webber / Lieutenant Laredo, Dara Mitchell. The former child actor who played the ship's pilot. He's now an adult and nervous about being thrust back into a role he barely remembers. Core traits: anxious, enthusiastic, determined. Arc: learns to overcome doubt and rise to the occasion, successfully piloting a real alien ship. Symbolism: Tommy symbolizes the return to youthful confidence and embracing one's past to grow into present potential. Guy Fligman / crewman number 6, Sam Rockwell. Guy played a red shirt type character on a single episode of the show and is convinced he'll die on the real mission because he's expendable. Core traits: paranoid, insecure, surprisingly brave. Arc: gains courage and purpose, ultimately surviving and even getting promoted in the fictional reboot. Symbolism: Guy satirizes red shirt tropes and represents the overlooked background player who proves they matter. Matissa, Enrico Colantoni. The naive but sincere leader of the Tamians, an alien race who believe Galaxy Quest was real and modeled their society after its ideals. Core traits: innocent, reverent, optimistic. Arc: grows from naive mimicry to a leader inspired by humanity's potential. Symbolism: Matissa reflects the pure-hearted fan who sees deeper truths in fiction, turning belief into action. Ceres, Robin Sachs. The film's villain, a ruthless alien warlord who seeks to destroy the Tamians and has no concept of fiction. Core traits: cruel, manipulative, humorless. Function: represents literal-minded antagonism, a force that doesn't understand or care about ideals or imagination. Symbolism: Ceres is the anti-fan, where the Tamians believe in the story's spirit, Ceres seeks only power and dominance. Brandon and the fans, Justin Long in his debut. Brandon is a teenage superfan who knows the show's technical manuals by heart and helps the crew via their shared fandom knowledge. Core traits: enthusiastic, knowledgeable, kind. Symbolism: Brandon and his friends represent fandom not just as obsession, but as love, contribution, and bridge building between fantasy and reality. Their belief in the show is what helps save lives. Summary: Galaxy Quest lovingly deconstructs sci-fi clichés and actor archetypes, but ultimately celebrates storytelling, fandom, and personal transformation. Each character starts as a type or stereotype, but the real-life crisis allows them to evolve into people of courage, value, and connection. The film's production and design are sophisticated, crafting a contrast between the kitschy world of 1980s space TV and the high-stakes alien reality the characters find themselves in. The sets, props, costumes, and visual effects were all designed with a dual purpose: satire and authenticity. Here is a detailed overview of the production and design of the film. Building construction production overview. Director, Dean Parasot. Writers, David Howard and Robert Gordon. Production designer, Linda DeSena. Costume designer, Albert Volsky. Visual effects, Industrial Light and Magic, YLM. Cinematography, Jerzy Zielinski. Filming locations, primarily Los Angeles studios with location shooting in the Mojave Desert and Goblin Valley State Park, Utah. Artist palette production design. 1. The NSCA Protector, ship interior and exterior. Interior. The NSCA Protector, the ship from the fictional Galaxy Quest TV show, was recreated in full-scale sets, influenced by the original Star Trek bridge. Bridge, bright, plastic-like panels, clean curves, and over-the-top lighting. It mimics 1960s/1980s sci-fi production values. Transport bay and corridors, more modern and practical, built to look like functional ship parts when the characters are transported into the real version. Engineering deck includes the famous Chomper hallway scene, satirizing nonsensical TV ship layouts. Exterior. The ship's design is sleek and exaggerated, with a large saucer section and elongated fins. ILM created the digital model, which reflects both retro stylization and modern scale. In universe, the Protector was originally a TV prop, but the Tamians rebuilt it to full function using show blueprints, a major in-joke about sci-fi fandom. 2. Tamian technology and design. The alien race that idolizes the TV show, Tamians, design everything based on the historical documents, i.e., reruns. Their ship interiors are more advanced and luminous, with soft, glowing walls, minimalist white and silver palettes, and fluid, ergonomic surfaces. The Tamians' environment is intentionally sterile, exaggeratedly peaceful, echoing their naive, idealistic nature. 3. Alien worlds. The Rock Planet, where Jason fights the rock monster, was filmed in Goblin Valley State Park, known for its strange hoodoo rock formations. Set dressing included spiky alien plants, colored lighting gels, and textured matte paintings to extend the world beyond practical geography. 4. The convention and Earth sets. The film begins at a sci-fi convention, which was designed with real-life con accuracy. Booths with cheap merchandise, cardboard cutouts, and cosplaying fans. Intentional contrast with the later scenes in the real spacecraft, highlighting the theme of fiction versus reality. Coat costume design. TV show uniforms. Sleek, form-fitting spandex jumpsuits with rubberized insignia, mirroring Star Trek, The Next Generation and Voyager. Use color-coded uniforms for parody. Commander, gray and maroon. Science officer, black and purple. Security, red, a nod to Star Trek's red shirt trope. Tamians. Wore loose, silver robes, reflecting a utopian, pacifist design. In human disguise, their costumes were stiff, awkward, and had high necklines, emphasizing their misunderstanding of human fashion. Villains, Ceres and minions. Designed with classic insectoid and reptilian villain tropes. Ceres' armor was built using foam latex prosthetics, animatronics, and green armor plating with integrated moving parts. Designed to look like a mashup of Predator, Klingon, and 1990s sci-fi villains. Wrench visual effects. ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, led the visual effects team, blending practical miniatures, used for some ship flybys. Full CGI sequences, especially the space battles and alien creatures. Digital morphing and compositing for scenes like Tamian transformations. The rock monster was fully digital and praised for its solid texturing and physics-based animation. Headphone sound and music. Composer, David Newman. The score uses swelling orchestral themes akin to Star Wars or Star Trek, reinforcing the epic stakes while subtly supporting the satire. Sound design, classic 1950s sci-fi zaps, rumbling engines, and ship hums were modernized but intentionally stylized. Repeat button design themes and visual symbolism. Contrast between worlds, Earth scenes are mundane, cluttered, and color-muted, outer space scenes are hyper-stylized, vibrant, and mythic. Blurring fiction and reality, design plays with the idea that TV sets and real technology can be indistinguishable when belief is strong enough. Heroic transformation, the ship, costumes, and characters begin as props, but by the end are presented with full cinematic grandeur. Trophy legacy and influence. Galaxy Quest's production design is frequently cited as one of the best uses of parody through visual world building. Its ship and alien tech design became references for later meta-sci-fi, e.g., the Orville, Red Dwarf, Lower Decks. ILM's effects age well, and the film is often lauded for having more polished visuals than some serious sci-fi of its era.
So here are my personal insights and interpretations of Galaxy Quest, including favorite moments. So in the opening, we see the grainy footage of old sci-fi show, Galaxy Quest, right? And it's obviously one of those space galactic kind of series, similar to Star Trek, in interstellar travel. And it introduces the crew. You have a Commander Peter Quincy Taggart, Lieutenant Tawny Madison, Dr. Lazarus, Tech Sergeant Chen, Laredo, and Guy Fleegman, right? Of course, Guy Fleegman isn't really introduced in that as his name because they introduce him as like an extra. So he's an extra. He just has a title like crew member number something another. I don't remember what it was. Right? So you know how that usually go with most films anyways, right? He was actually killed off in that fictional TV show in episode 81. So the cast is there at a convention, right? They appear at a convention. And Jason Nesmith, who plays Taggart in the series, he ends up coming very, very late, which makes the rest of the cast very upset because this seems to be the kind of behavior that he has, seemingly unprofessional type of behavior, right? Now, it's obvious that them tired and them bitter about all that's going on, right? Especially Alexander Dane, right? He plays Lazarus. To him, he has been playing a serious role, right? He always does his best. But, of course, because the one line that he's given, right, the one catchphrase that he's given is not all that, By Grabthar's hammer, you shall be avenged. So, well, every time I hear it, it just, sets him off. No, Jason actually did here, come in now and him basically I try to get Alexander to work with the program, because Alexander ready to leave, right? Quite a other few of them were like, behind him on that. But Jason said something to him, that basically kept him there, It probably re-inspired him, the man did get him did under some serious stress. Him have like a meltdown, right? Mental meltdown, right? So you can understand if that was the situation. Now, after all of this, Jason end up going the bathroom. Now, don't ask me why it is that the actors and the cast of this seemingly popular TV show would be using the same bathroom as the fans, right? Like, it don't make sense, right? But the movie was trying to make a point to get Jason to hear what some of the fans actually thought about the series, right? And about certain actors, especially him, right? So him hearing that now kind of knock him down a couple pegs because he was riding high. And basically decided to leave. And while he was leaving, him get approached by a group of odd-looking humanoid aliens. He didn't realize that aliens them, right? They're called the Thermians, and they're led by Mathazar, right? Now, him thinks them actually offer him a gig, right? That they are the super fans who organized a gig that he's supposed to be going on the next day. But, him not realize, say that. So, they tell him about their home planet and he's like, oh yeah, the gig. And him, like, brother, you never listen. You never pay attention to what them say. For a second, if you realize that, yo, something not sound too right. You know what I'm saying? And people just approach you and then you just like figure say almost one gig. You know what I'm saying? Anyways. So they would have seen Galaxy Quest broadcast, right? So for the unscientific persons or the persons who are not so versatile in science, right? Not listening to nobody. A signal from Earth would necessarily take couple years, right? Because light is the fastest thing that can travel. Sound is the second fastest thing that can travel. Now, both of those things need to travel at a certain amount out into space to wherever these aliens are, right? And let's assume that they are the closest to Earth, right? And the next star other than the sun, right? Because the sun is a star. The next star out there is probably couple thousand million. I don't even want to get the distance wrong, but it's very far. Just know that it's like way, way, way far, right? Even though it would be the nearest one. So they would have to have been listening to these broadcasts, watching these broadcasts, right? Whether they were listening or watching at the same time, these broadcasts, well old, right? Apparently, they believe that these are historical documentations and not actual fictional shows, right? So you can call it that these are fans that don't even realize that the universe that they're observing on screen is not real. Yeah. So they end up following him home, I guess, or probably they had a tracker on him or something. And when they get to where he is, because he was like, this is like the next day now, right? The man come to the door half naked. Now, I don't know if you hear somebody calling at the door, then ring the bell. You don't put on some clothes. Apparently, him decides him not put on no clothes. I'm not finished getting dressed before going to the door. So, I'm come to him and, them say them ready and thing and whatever. And he's like, him kind of find something weird about it, but then they mention that they have a limo. And him say, oh, so on a sound like on have money. So, all right, since even on kind of look kind of weirdish, on look like on have money, yeah, man, I will go because, it's a gig of money, right? And he's been out of work, as an actor for years, right? So, him go with them and thing and he's drunk, right? So, him pass out in the limo, right? Him actually try make a pass at one of the female-looking aliens, them, But then him pass out after that because him did drunk, right? Wake up on the ship, right? When I'm there and thing, I'm say, well, carry you go to the bridge and thing, and I say, yeah, man, I need to hurry up because I have another thing after this still. You see me I say, but yeah, man, me will see what I go on and things. So you guys have a script and thing, and he's like, they're like, they will others that way, but boy, it's like, all right, I'll wing it, no problem. I'm a professional. That's kind of arrogance that him have. So he goes to the bridge, and when he reach the bridge and thing, he's there, and so him kind of put on the act, because this is everybody in play, and them seem to be playing their parts to him, not knowing that they are actually doing themselves and being themselves in an actual intergalactic conflict, right? So he meets with an alien called Saris, who, basically is a badass, and he challenges Saris without even knowing that a real thing him a do, and him order them unauthorized a weapon strike, boom. So, when him done and thing, him's like, basically, I don't can send me the check in the mail and thing, but hey, I gotta go now, I have to reach XYZ. So, them say, all right, and carry you go to the place. Then them say, when they lock him in a room, I wonder why they lock him in a room, and then this liquid gel kind of thing encapsulates his whole body, and he is out in space. Yeah. He's looking at the whole of space around him, and then he gets fired like a bullet out of a cannon, right? Right back to Earth. Yeah. Of course, when he gets back to Earth, obviously I'm going to call somebody and tell them about what he saw, right? So him go at him, the place where he's supposed to meet up with the rest of the cast. They're supposed to be doing some kind of ad at a electronic store, and everybody there I do for them like a part and thing, and obviously he's late again, right? Which they are used to by now, right? But them I do them thing and stuff. So him go to them and him a tell them what happened to the man thing, and him a say, yo, you guys need to, you know what I'm saying? This is weird, but they have a real thing, and he's excited to tell him, and it's like, don't brush it off like, what you talk about one thing, or like, and thing. So there was a mix up with a communicating device that they would have given him, and the one that one of his fans has. But nonetheless, the aliens were there, and they see him, and they say, yo, we can't take it to the ship, right? It's like, yo, we're actors together. We're not gonna have you, if one goes, the whole way have to go. The whole way have to work together, not knowing what they were getting into, right? At that point, they end up being taken to the ship. Yeah. And of course, they are freaked out because, the whole of them experiencing this together, right? And they were awake, unlike him. Jason was not awake when he got there, but yeah. So when they reach aboard and thing, and Jason I say, yo, you need to see, so and so, and him excited to tell them what, what's going on, because if I realize what I got to do, in my mind I'm thinking it never take long for Jason to warm up back to the idea of going back with these aliens. Realizing now that it's real, him still, go. Anyways, the actors, them have to figure out them role, because even though they played these roles on TV, they basically don't know nothing about intergalactic flight, how to operate a real spaceship and something there. Yeah. Laredo, had to basically learn how to use the controls for the first time. And him almost scrape off the paint job off of the right side of the ship. The left side of the ship. Eventually, because apparently what the aliens do is that they modeled his actions from the TV show, right? So the controls work the very same way, right? Yeah. So everybody have to jump in at them little role. So Tani, who was played by Sigourney Weaver, she is the chick, right, of the crew. And so her role is to repeat everything with the computer. I say, literally, just repeat everything with the computer say, and or if they say they want to find out something about from the computer, she interface with the computer by just asking the exact thing that they would have asked the computer anyways, right? So she's a go-between. She's a middle woman for the computer, right? Tech Sergeant Chen end up being like, Scotty in Star Trek where he's down by the engine room, right? And working with the team down at the engine room, right? Dr. Lazarus is supposed to be, I guess, a mix of what probably Worf and or Spock, that alien that is kind of out of touch with emotions, yeah. And Guy, he ends up not dying yet. He doesn't die at all. But I be like, seriously, the way how they met the man that they're just play up the whole thing, I actually thought that he would die, what I'm saying? The way how them, they play this whole thing all the way. Because then we'll be right back after these messages.
Buy Grab Thor's hammer.
If you're enjoying the podcast, don't keep it to yourself. This isn't some big budget production. It's a scrappy, passionate mission that just might save the galaxy, or at least make you commute more fun. Share it with a fellow sci-fi fan who's already ready to answer a distress call. And leave a comment, because even space heroes need feedback. There's no monetization here, just heart, humor, and the occasional alien misunderstanding. Never give up, never surrender, and definitely never skip the next episode. The next thing that happens is that they find themselves in a battle and they lose the engines and they have to try and figure out a way to get it back online, right? The standard trope, right? They lose their engines and now they need to get flying again. They need something to get, underway again. They need to repair it. And the only piece of, I guess, material or equipment or something that they need is on a planet nearby, conveniently. So they end up going to the mines of Itar, right, to retrieve a beryllium sphere, right, which they need to power the ship. Yeah. They get there and, some more hilarity ensues because first things first, they land and Tech Sergeant Chen just open the door, right, without checking the atmosphere to see if it's breathable or what. Right, and not even that alone, whether it's poisonous, because it can be breathable, but it can be poisonous, right? Or, whatever it is. And they actually point it out because, one of the guys is like, you just open the place and you're not even check to see if it's breathable or nothing. And it's like, it's Tony Shalhoub, so Tony Shalhoub way of doing things like, it does take a breath alien atmosphere, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, so they find themselves to the mines where the beryllium spheres are basically out there in the open for the taking. And them see some very vicious aliens. They're very cute looking at first sight. But the way how you see them deal with even them own, one of them own was basically injured. And they take it apart, right? And so they're like, okay, we need to hurry up and get out of here. We can't make them see we have to be quiet and thing. But yeah, now it go. They weren't quiet or nothing. And yeah, they end up get the beryllium sphere now and they might try to escape. You know what I'm saying? Because under pressure and all these things. Most of the crew end up escaping, leaving Jason, right? To fight Goragnak, who is a big rock monster. I'm not making up this. Right, guys? Me nah make this up. If you watch the show, watch the movie, may I tell you, this part was just like the part where we say, what are you doing? This is basically Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? All the little tropes, right? And takes you back to one of those famous fights that Kirk had with the Gorn, right? Yeah. That was an interesting one. Yeah. Or the fight between Patrick Stewart's character. You know. Yeah. Anyways, of course, Guy is always like panicking because he thinks he's gonna just die, right? He's gonna be killed off, whatever. So eventually, most of the crew got back aboard the Protector, leaving the captain to fight Garagnak. Yeah. Anyways, they were trying to get him back now. So Tony Shalhoub, or Tech Sergeant Chen, he had the job of trying to lock onto the captain and transporting him back onto the ship using the transmat, or I don't even remember what them call that mechanism that they have. But yeah, basically it's supposed to, lock onto his position and get him onto the ship. Of course, they tried it out first because him not know how to operate it and sure how to operate it. And a good thing they tried it out first because the creature that he tried to transport aboard ended up being transported inside and out. Right? Their insides got outside. Anyways, after that, they had to talk him into it again because he's like, yo, me not do this, Me don't want to do this. I don't want to be responsible for the captain's death. Right? The commander's death, sorry. So, eventually, Jason talk him down and ting and him say, all right, go do it. Yeah, go try. I'm go try and do it. And him try again. And him actually get the captain safe and sound, bones and everything. Just in time for Cyrus to board the Protector and basically take them hostage. Him torture the Termians and thing to get information about the Omega-13 device, right? Which no one knows how it works, not even the Termians who built the damn thing. How you have to build something and you don't even know what's its function? You don't have a clue. You don't know what it could possibly do. How could you not? Yeah. So, him up, trying to torture Jason now because I realize that Jason kind of, like the Termians and things. So, him tell Jason to tell the Termians them the truth. Tell them say that the show is a fake. It's not a historical document and thing. And Jason tried to tell Matazar that is. But him say you have to explain it to him like you would a child, right? And Jason explains, say, that them lie. And him, show a bit of footage of the show and say, see, that's not real, it's fake. Of course, Balthazar is heartbroken thing there and stuff. So, figure out a way if he escape from their captors. That's Jason and Tani. And they both try to the rest of the crew and stuff as well. So they hatched the plan now that they were going to try and reclaim the ship and kick the rest of them off and stuff. Cyrus had returned back to his ship now, and they tried to save the Terminals because they did have them suffocate him. They basically air upon them, right? And they're aliens, so they can't breathe in that atmosphere. So a weird point happened as well. One of the things, Jason ended up off a call one of him superfans them because the superfan them know about the ship that and can explain why there is a hall with some clanking something will come from the ceiling to the floor and from the floor upwards, a clank and so actually gave them the sequence in which they can pass through safely, right? Montani, boom. Loretta was there practicing to fly before, and get back control of the ship. Alexander, him, have to go and rescue some of the aliens. Them, Tech Sergeant Chen, oh yeah, him did find one girlfriend, right? One of the alien, they my girlfriend now. Yeah, so that happened. They had some weird, freaky alien sex too. Okay, yeah. Did I mention this movie is a comedy for adults? Yeah, it is. So that happened, right? Everybody was successful in their own right in getting what they need to get. Once they got to the Omega 13 device, they were not sure what it did really and stuff. And they were odd in about the whole thing because the way how they built it really looked awesome, right? Now, after they repel all Cyrus forces as they thought off of the ship, they head to Earth, right? So that they can get, they can go home and stuff. When they reach the upper atmosphere of Earth, Cyrus appears disguised as Tech Sergeant Chen and kill everybody on the bridge. Yeah. So Jason, with the help of the superfan, activated the Omega 13 device, which actually was rumored, to be a time travel device because they never actually, in the actual TV series in the universe, they didn't actually do anything with it. It was only rumored. And just like us fans talking about TV shows and movies, we sometimes postulate on the possibilities of things, even if it was not, they didn't even think about it, right? Anyways, it actually works, right? And so Jason was able to get back 13 minutes and he was able to repel Cyrus before Cyrus could, do any damage or anything. However, they couldn't slow down the ship for some reason, of course, these last minute things. They couldn't slow it down, so they had to separate right? Like how the Enterprise always have to separate the saucer section. That does always has to happen. Anyways, yeah, so they had to separate. So the front portion, right, crashed into the convention center, actually. Yeah, with the crew, the cast. And they emerge into the convention hall just in the same order that they did in the opening. But one difference, Cyrus was on board Seaway. He's not dead. Cyrus came out ready for kill. And Jason did one of them combat role, like what you're doing at the show them, just do that simple little combat role, because it always seemed to work. You just combat role and you just shoot and you must hit a target. And he actually did hit his target. He killed Cyrus. And everybody cheered because they thought, obviously the fans thought that this was all set up, for them. I don't know, how convincing it is to know that, hey, there's a big hole in the convention hall, right? But no, right? Yeah, but no, that didn't thing there. So the last scene basically sees the cast being queued up again with a trailer basically of the Galaxy Quest, and the journey continues. It seems to be a reboot of the show with the original cast, with the addition of guy who is now promoted with a name, right? And Tech Sergeant Chen girlfriend, the alien, as one of the cast as well. Yeah. One thing I can say about this particular film is that the obvious parody of it played really well with the fact that it is a homage, right? And it basically close to a fan of the Star Trek series, the Star Trek movies, the Star Trek universe. It really, makes me feel like, a good way about it. They did do well with it. It's not like they did it any harm. They didn't. It's not like they took it and they only showed the bad parts, or they made fun of the bad parts, in such a way that you're like, it's distasteful. They did show some love for the fans and showed ultimately what a story can be about real people, right? Sometimes washed up actors, probably they don't like being called that. I won't call them that, but I mean like some actors who have not acted in a while, they haven't gotten a job, especially when them typecast. You see it happen with a lot of sci-fi stuff too. A lot of sci-fi TV shows, some of the actors, them really good actors, they get typecast because what? You've played this guy for so long that there's nowhere else that you can be seen in any other role, right? Like Leonard Nimoy, Spock, and play the role so much that to escape it, to actually find work, he had to go behind the camera and have to work as director, producer, writer, creator for certain series. Yeah? Because he couldn't find any other work. Nobody now hire him for nothing else other than any Star Trek stuff. So that's why, some of them end up just after just take on the projects, this very same projects that they started working on, them actually put them, just reinvest back themselves into it, put back their money and them time and them energy into it, right? They have some similar TV shows and movies, right? Spaceballs, right? The Orville. Those are some exclusive examples of sci-fi with that flair for comedy and parody, right? Parody that brings new life to certain circumstances, certain situations, and really, makes fans say, fans who are vested in it, and I talk about people who just be like, I watch 2 shows and that's it, who really are invested in it, make you say, I feel intelligent, because I feel like, say, you actually think about me. Yeah. That's it for my analysis of Galaxy Quest. So here are my theories about unresolved mysteries and plot points. So I already mentioned it already. Why is the actors using the same bathroom as the fans in the convention? Why? Right? But I can understand, say, in certain circumstances, it depends on location, it depends on the budget. Actors might want to take on certain stuff, but really and truly, it should not be, mixing them like that because it can cause issues, especially with fans. Because you have some crazy fans who, what I'm saying? It's not like they're going to be like seeing, for instance, Alan Rickman, right, who is an amazing actor, right? I would fanboy, right? I would be a crazy fanboy, but me not gonna say boy, me not know how me gonna control how me deal with things. I gonna say, yo, yeah, respect my dupes, whatever. But it's not like me gonna be like, you know, grab Thor's hammer, I will avenge thee. That kind of thing. Yeah, me not gonna be totally out of my gourd, right? Yeah. So one of the unresolved plot point is the Omega 13 device, obviously, right? The the function of the Omega 13 device is a great central mystery, right? That is peppered throughout the film. And it's only at the climax it is revealed that it rewind time by 13 seconds, right? But how does it do it? How was it built? Why would it be needed? Those are some things that remain unexplained, right? And there's a big debate, obviously, right? As fans would debate about these things, right? Even if it was never meant to go beyond the questions, right? And it was suggested. So obviously, the Omega 13 is a metaphor for seconds chances, right? The characters, them and the actors, they were able to reborn, right? Because you at the beginning of the film, we got that idea that these actors, they would have played their roles over and over for however amount of time in the past, right? And now they have basically been able to reprise their roles with a twist where they're actually playing it for real. They're actually doing it real, for real, right? In real circumstances. So, and I say this because I can understand that over time, actors, especially the talented ones, will get bored with whatever role that they're playing, right? Doctor Who, for example. Many of the great actors that have played Doctor Who have said that it's a great role to play, but they don't see it as long term. They don't see it as something that they want to do for too long because you can't, your creativity will eventually be stifled because you're just doing the same thing route every day, every hour, every minute, and you're not being able to expand your mind, get those creative juice flowing, do something that is new. Even as a programmer, developer, I can talk about that as well. working on a project and I've been working on it for too long, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to feel like I need to do something new. I need to be able to refocus my energies somewhere else. So I can totally see that as being something that is helpful because it basically challenged them to become better at themselves, at playing themselves, at doing their role, right? It really brought out. For one person, for example, was Tawny Madison, right? Who was played by Sigourney Weaver. Her role as just the eye candy, right? Miss Breasties, Boo Bella, right? Whatever you want to call her. It ended when she actually had to jump into the deep end with Jason at that point where they had to go and find the Omega 13 device and they had to go through danger, right? And she had to basically tap into a different part that she would not have had to do before. And you hear her exclaim one at a time, it's like, she can't work under these circumstances because it's just maddening, it's crazy, right? But she learned something and she got through it, right? And a couple of the other actors and casts have a similar line or story to play, in that, right? One of my favorite actors, I would have done a podcast episode on a series that he was involved in, which was David Tennant from Doctor Who, and he was playing in Good Omens, right? His role was definitely his. It was distinguishable from his Doctor Who role, right? Doctor Who, he would play a hero. In Good Omens, he was a anti-hero. He was the epitome, basically, of evil, right? Yeah, and he did it well. So that's all I will say about that one, right? The Thermians and their naivety. They're an alien race, right? They believe that all of Earth's television is historical fact, and there's no fiction. Because when they even bring up the fact, say, Gilligan Island is a thing, and it's, they were like, oh, the poor Gilligan, him stuck on an island. Like, they don't know. So when Cyrus used that, right, their lack of a concept of deception or fiction, right, you have to really think about the fact, say, how them society can really function, right, for survive any interstellar threat. Because first of all, in war, you can't reveal your stratagem. So you can't be too honest. And you have to be able to keep certain things close to your vest. Right? But perhaps it was just a way to get things moving forward for the film. So it would have been, the fact that they were earnest about how they understood, similar to how us fans sometimes we get so caught up in it, in the debates and so on. We literally, even though we know it's not real, we go the extra mile. Some of us cussing out one another online, or getting into arguments about some stuff that other people be like, but I want to show you that, but why you sound so vested in it, why are you, you know and you spend weekends of your time to binge watch an episode, a series, you know That is the power of it, I guess. All right. So another thing is Cyrus's motivation and fate, right? So he seeked the Omega 13 device, but it just seemed like he just wanted control of it, because it seemed like it would be something that he could use, right? The fact that him find out about it, right? He literally find out about it and then he made it his duty to get right the that information out of them about what it is and how it would work. So, you know, there's a whole lot to be developed about it, you know, and perhaps if there was a part two, and I don't really see Galaxy Quest becoming a part two, maybe a reboot, but not a part two. But for a villain, his thing is definitely there's nothing to his motivation other than him just want to know what it is. Yeah. And then there's the crew's future and the sequel series. So when the film ends, the cast returns to Earth and their characters, right, are revived by their careers with a new series. However, the Termians, we don't really know much about their relationship, between them and the humans and, what it means to have happen. And, perhaps if they did get the chance to do, because they did plan to do a follow-up sequel movie. If they did plan to do that, they would have springbooted on this one, which is to look at that because it's something that definitely could be used. You could see where there was a lot to be utilized, a lot of things that could, play out with that one. Because the ending was just that, it was just a nice little intro into something new. So there are some meta theories, right? The fandom, right? So the whole suggestion that passionate fans, right, who call themselves the questionarians, are not only obsessive, but them can be very heroic because they end up helping the cast to save the day, right? In a nerdy way, this is a high point to cheer for because fan culture can actually save a series in some cases. That has happened in many cases, right? Not just the fact that you have viewing the numbers, the viewer count going up or whatever, popularity and so on, but also in the way how they contribute to certain things. Some of the Marvel films and series that we're seeing today are actually created, written, directed, even acted by fans of these comics and so on. They've come up, right? Even Doctor Who that, I love and cherish. Some of the actors who have played on that, they have been watching it from them are picking, right? From them are grow and then they ended up joining that cast and contributing to that universe. Yeah. The red shirt parody. So Guy Fleegman, right? In fear dying, right? Because he's a red shirt, right? Which is a running joke and a commentary on how they have expendable extra, in sci-fi. So there's a theory that his survival is symbolic of the film's respect for even the most minor fan favorite characters. Mhm. And lastly, censorship and ratings. So there's a theory that certain lines were dubbed or censored to achieve a PG rating, right? Because there were some lines that were actually obviously dubbed, right? Like when Tawny was like, she can't work under these circumstances. She really did drop a F bomb, right? Yeah. So that is my theories and the plot points. Share your favorite theories or plot points. Drop them in the comments, no? So in this episode, we looked at Galaxy Quest, sci-fi satire, and the heroism of fandom. And as a listener of this podcast, you can truly be classified as a fan of these sci-fi TV shows and movies, which continue to help us to contrast between worlds, blurring fiction and reality, and allowing us to see the heroic transformations through the lens that we are able to examine, analyze, empathize. These films and TV shows have been given a different perspective. And perhaps, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, maybe sooner than we think, these same TV shows and movies might be saved, right? We might be seeing some of them returning to the big screen or maybe streaming on one of those streaming platforms. And on that day, I will be there to watch and to discuss and debate and analyze. Yes, I know it's not a word. I'm making that one official. And to bring you some good content. That is it. That brings us to the end of this episode. Our voyage to the universe of sci-fi television has passed a major milestone. 1,000 downloads. Now, we're on a mission to 1250. Your support means the world, so stay engaged, share your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious.